Yo, what's good, Senpai Army? It's your boy, the Masked Senpai Anime, back to you with another reaction. We are reacting to the richest 10 feral children you won't believe exist. What's interesting? Let's get into it.
We were all children once.
Yeah?
In fact, we bet your parents thought at one time or another that you were totally wild and out of control.
Yeah?
Today, we'll tell you about some real wild children who spent time living on their own or with wild animals.
Oh, wow.
Think of it like a Disney story, only not as cute
Yeah.
and filled with a lot more danger.
Uh-huh.
Hey, you know what isn't dangerous? The subscribe and notification buttons. They
Yeah.
aren't poisonous, don't have teeth, and they love a good click. So go on now. Give them a try.
Already subscribed.
Tryon Calderar.
Alright.
What would you picture if we told you about a feral child living in Transylvania? We don't know about you, but we picture scary forests, castles in the distance, and bats
that's
who
a
can
stereotype.
transform into sharp-toothed, cape-wearing humans.
That's stereotype. That's
Well,
just...
there aren't any of those here.
Yeah.
However, the story of Tryon Calderar is pretty amazing. When he was around 4 years old, this Romanian boy ran away from home and fled into the nearby forest.
Really?
For the next 3 years, he lived mostly on his own. We say mostly because experts are pretty certain that wild dogs living in the forest played some role in aiding Tryon
Wow.
over his 3 feral years. First, it would explain how the little boy managed to get the food necessary to survive.
Mhm.
However, a bigger giveaway was that when Tryon was brought back into society at the age of 7, he tended to growl when he was around food. Of course, the gold medal of giveaways occurred when he was out for a walk with his mother and just couldn't resist the urge to run into traffic in order to chase a cat.
Wow.
True story. Peter the Wild Boy. Today, thanks to the internet and social media, we can hear about news within minutes of it happening.
Yeah.
This pretty much
True.
means we get bombarded with unbelievable stories all the time. Then there's the story of the wild boy of Hamelin. Now, this feral child was around long before the internet and social media.
Oh, wow.
Only known as Peter, in 1725, locals reported seeing a feral boy roaming around the forests of northern Germany.
Mm.
The 12-year-old reportedly ate grass and leaves and ran up to trees if anyone approached him. He was eventually captured and taken in by the Duke of Hanover. There, Peter lived out a bit of a twisted Disney story. He was dressed in nice clothes and ate at the table with normal guests.
Mm.
However, his lack of manners, grunting, and general feralness made many people nervous.
Mm-hmm.
After one escape attempt, he was sent to live with the royal family in England. There, Peter was a novelty, and the king even tried to have him tutored and civilized. When that fell through, the interest in this feral boy dropped.
Mm-hmm.
Peter was sent out to a farm where he spent the rest of his days in obscurity.
Oh, that's sad.
Oksana Malaya. In the realm of feral children, there are few bigger
I
than
heard
Oksana Malaya. When she was just 3 years old, Oksana was abandoned by her alcoholic parents. Alone
What?
and outside, she sought out the closest living things, which just happened to be some dogs. 5 years later, neighbors discovered the malnourished little girl living with the dogs. Malaya was described as moving on all fours and growling and barking at anyone who came near.
Mm.
She had survived this difficult time by eating raw meat and foraging for scraps from the trash. In fact, during
Yeah,
her years as a
nasty.
feral child, she had pretty much picked up every trait from her canine companions.
Mhm.
From moving around to eating to even how she cleaned herself, this Ukrainian girl pretty much thought she was a dog. Now in her 20s, it has taken years of therapy and education to
Okay.
subdue the canine instincts Oksana picked up during her time as a feral child. She can speak and act like a regular person, but suffers from a stunted intellectual ability resulting from her neglect.
Alright.
Today, she lives on a farm in the Ukraine, where she takes care of the animals.
It's nice to see.
Feral
that
Boy of
education.
Borneo. In the Disney film The Jungle Book, we see a little boy named Mowgli survive in the jungle
Mowgli,
thanks
not
to a
Mowgli,
small
Mowgli.
army of friendly animals. But that's Disney, and
Mhm.
not real life. Or is it? A few years ago on the Malaysian island of Borneo, dozens of reports came into authorities concerning sightings of a small boy living in the jungle. For
Oh.
years, the reports kept coming in, but authorities could never find this mysterious feral boy. Simply known as the feral child of Borneo, in 2014, officials got the break they were looking for. Heading into the jungle, they came across a congress of orangutans.
Oh, cool.
Yes, that's apparently what you call a group of orangutans.
Yeah. That's
In any
true.
event, there living with the primates was a human boy believed to be around 4 to 7 years
Oh,
old.
wow.
Attempts to get the boy made the orangutans angry.
Mm-hmm.
As a result, tranquilizers were used to subdue the angriest primates. The
Yeah.
rescue team had to make a quick getaway once the boy was in custody, as the rest of the Congress was pretty upset.
Yeah.
Nonetheless,
they're fighting
although his
their
identity
own.
was a mystery, experts say the feral boy was in good health despite having spent years in the jungle.
Oh yeah, come on. He's brave about
Sean
everything.
Ellis.
Come on.
We've heard a lot about feral kids, but what about feral adults? After all, it seems like this situation only affects kids. But what happens when those kids grow up? We think we have the answer. Enter Sean Ellis. He's a grown man, and we're pretty sure he wasn't feral as a kid. But today, it doesn't look that way.
Oh.
You see, Ellis has devoted his life to living like a wild man. And we're not talking
Okay.
about wild parties either. Instead, this feral man spends considerable time living, eating, and playing with a pack of wolves.
Okay.
Getting down on all fours, Ellis makes wolf calls, rolls around on the ground, and even takes part in the feedings. He even simulates fighting over food and claiming his place in the pack.
What?
Don't worry though, he hasn't gone full
You're
feral.
crazy.
When it comes to finding a mate, this guy is stuck with the human race, and we're kind of amazed he found someone willing to accept his feral side. After
Yeah,
all, we
I'm
don't know about
surprised
you,
too.
but we don't really find someone's ability to bare their teeth and snarl like a wolf all that attractive. But
Not really.
hey, to each their own. Time for our feral quiz. Even if they aren't running free in the wild, parents everywhere have been trying to tame their wild children since the start of time. Which one of the following medications is not given to treat attention deficit hyperactivity disorder? A. Ritalin, B. Xarelto, or C. Adderall? We'll calm your inner feral child with a dose at the end of the video. Medina.
I'm not entirely sure. Adderall, maybe?
There really seems to be a problem with alcoholic parents abandoning their kids in Russia, at least as far as them turning into feral kids is concerned. In central Russia, in the city of Ufa, authorities came across a girl known only as Medina. Now, Medina was around 3 years of age and living in a house, so technically she wasn't as feral as some of the kids who lived in forests and jungles. That said, this little girl pretty much could only count on herself and a few dogs because her mother was either drunk or absent for long stretches of time. While on her own, Medina
So
would
sad.
play with the dogs and sleep with them to survive the cold winter nights. When social workers moved in after hearing rumors from people in the neighborhood, they encountered quite a sight. There was Medina, naked and walking on all fours, in the process of gnawing on bones and scraps with her pack of dogs. While she still knew how to say yes and no, extensive re-education was needed to stop her from acting like a dog and facilitate reintegration
Lookers.
into human society.
Oh.
Memi LeBlanc. Earlier, we told you about Peter the Wild Boy.
Yeah.
While Peter was definitely famous, there was a feral girl in France who was even more famous.
Ooh, feral
In
girl.
1731,
More famous.
locals
Oh,
of Songy
okay.
village saw a girl emerge from the nearby woods. When approached, she ran up a tree. After several attempts to coax her down, the girl was captured and taken to the local
Are you
viscount.
gonna catch her?
There,
Just
she
leave her
amazed
alone.
people with her wildness. When food was presented, she grabbed raw carcasses, skinning them and eating them on the spot.
Yeah.
She was so filthy it took several baths to wash off all the dirt. People noticed that her hands and feet were unusual as they had adapted to climbing trees and digging up roots.
Oh yeah. It's called
Known only
evolution,
as Memi,
adaptation.
she preferred to sleep on the floor and was very skilled at catching small animals and fish.
Ooh,
Given
that's
she
good
could only
skill.
communicate through shrieking and squeaking, it took time to teach Memi how to communicate using words. However, by the time she could, she told people that she had been a slave aboard a ship which sank. She allegedly survived by hiding in
Really?
the forest.
Wow.
Others remained unconvinced and think Memi the feral girl was actually the result of poor peasants abandoning her in the woods, which unfortunately wasn't uncommon.
Oh, whatever. I don't know.
Chady. Remember how earlier we told you about how you can never seem to find a feral child who grew into a feral adult? Well, we were wrong.
Oh, okay.
Thanks to Chady. When she was just 4 years old, she became separated from her family and ended up lost in the jungles
Wow.
of Myanmar. For over 30 years, her family believed Chady was gone forever. Then, by chance, a woman from Myanmar happened to meet Chilo, Chady's father. Right away, the woman noticed how Chilo closely resembled a mysterious forest girl she had taken in a few years before. This feral woman was wild-looking, dirty, and couldn't communicate. The mystery was put to rest after the father was able to identify Chady by a birthmark. Just how Chady was able to survive all those years in the jungle isn't clear.
Oh, that's cool.
Until she learns to communicate, it's likely to remain a big mystery.
Well, at least they
That
got
said,
reunited.
while she was missing, people reported sporadically seeing a wild-looking woman in the jungle, and even reported being attacked by her. In most
That's a
instances,
bunch of
locals
BS
just
right
figured
there.
it had to do with the forest being inhabited by ghosts. Feral ghost children? Ugh, those are the worst kind.
Whatever.
Chilean Dog Boy.
Alright.
When he was just 5 years old, a Chilean boy, known only as Dog Boy, was thrown out of his home by abusive parents. From there, he ended up in a children's home. Obviously unhappy, Dog Boy escaped and took to the streets where he lived a feral life.
Oh, wow.
Now, as you can guess, the unnamed child received his unofficial nickname because he took up with a pack of dogs in the southern city of Talcahuano. In fact, until the age of 10, it is reported that the pack of 15 wild dogs looked out for Dog Boy and even let him nurse when he needed nourishment.
That's cool.
Most of the time, the boy and his pack lived in a cave near the city. When they were hungry, they ventured out into the city streets to find scraps.
That's cool.
Caught by the authorities, it's safe to say that Dog Boy wasn't initially pleased about being reintegrated back into society.
Yeah.
When asked to draw pictures, they always include his canine family members. He even asked the police to let him return to the pack he considered family. Unlike other feral kids, this boy can speak fairly well, which will no doubt ease his progress. The Mowgli Girl.
Ooh.
In the spring of 2017, authorities found a girl believed to be around 10 years of age who was living a feral life in the forests of northern India. In a very Disney-esque manner, the girl was initially discovered by a group of woodcutters who happened to stumble upon her living out her daily routine with a family of monkeys. The woodcutters said the girl was naked and clearly familiar with the monkeys. In fact, when they tried to move in and help her, the monkeys got pretty angry.
Yeah.
The situation reportedly got very tense when a police officer grabbed the girl and quickly drove away. An angry pack of monkeys giving chase.
Yeah.
The mysterious girl is unable to speak and can only communicate through high-pitched screaming, no doubt learned from her monkey companions. In a twist, just days after her capture, a man came forward to say that the girl was his niece, and her name was Easis.
Oh, yeah?
However, the hospital isn't willing to hand the girl over to the man because upon seeing the alleged uncle, she allegedly didn't react in a manner you'd expect. That's right. Just like a classic Disney movie, the potential villain arrives looking to cash in on the innocent and vulnerable girl. We wonder what her monkey family would have to say about that. So, do you know which of the following medications is not given to treat attention deficit hyperactivity disorder?
Adderall?
A. Ritalin, B. Xarelto, or C. Adderall? The answer? B.
Oh.
Xarelto. That's actually a blood thinner, taken by people with heart conditions.
Oh, yeah,
The
duh.
other two drugs are both commonly used to treat kids with ADHD.
Okay.
Well, we've been able to tame this video, and hopefully you learned some interesting stuff in the process.
I did.
Remember to keep a close eye on those kids, and an even closer one on our videos. We've got lots of other features about wild children and animals, so be sure to check them out. As always, be sure to subscribe if you haven't already, and hey, we'll see you next time. Bye-bye for now.
Well, that was cool. Interesting stuff I didn't know. Anyway, guys, that was the richest 10 feral children you won't believe exist. I hope you liked it, and I'll see you next time.